Today I've got for you 3 tempeh recipes that I believe everyone will enjoy. Tempeh can have a slightly bitter flavour and unusual texture, but with the right cooking methods and recipes, it can be totally delicious and nutritious. If you're new to the channel, my name is George and I've been a chef for 10 years and I post weekly cooking videos, so be sure to stick around and let's get into the cooking. These tempeh balls are incredibly simple but absolutely delicious. We're simply going to start by crumbling the tempeh into a large bowl, just into pea-sized pieces roughly. I used to be a tempeh hater and I would just stick with my delicious tofu, but these recipes I can honestly say that I absolutely love, and it's just a great way of getting this really nutritious ingredient into your diet. Tempeh can have a slightly bitter flavor, but it does depend on the brand that you're using. Mine I find is absolutely fine, so I don't do anything with it. But if you want to, you can give it a steam for about 10 minutes or simmer it in salted water for 10 minutes, and that should get rid of any bitterness. We're also cooking the tempeh with lots of delicious ingredients that have umami, salty, sweet flavors that can counter any sort of bitterness. Next to go in is 1 grated carrot. This adds a nice sweetness, but also a nice bit of sort of juiciness from the moisture in the carrot. Then some breadcrumbs. This makes the balls slightly less dense and adds a really nice texture. Now for some flavorings, we're going to zest in 1 clove of garlic. You could also finely mince it if you don't have a zester. 1 teaspoon of tomato puree. Instead of cooking down onions, I'm just going to use some granulated onion. I'm also using some dried herbs, starting with some thyme and some oregano. You could use an Italian herb mix if you've got that. Smoked paprika for that lovely depth of flavor. And then I've just ground some fennel in a pestle and mortar. I personally really like the flavor, but if you don't, feel free to leave it out. And then of course, for that umami goodness, I'm going to add a teaspoon of Marmite. You could use some dark soy sauce or red miso. And then to help bind these tempeh balls, I'm adding in some tapioca starch. This will soak up some of the moisture, but also give them a slight sort of bounce, which is really nice. Then just get in there with your hands or a spoon and give it a good old mix up. Nearly forgot a crucial ingredient, and that is of course some freshly cracked black pepper. Tasting as you go along with cooking is so important, and it is no different with these tempeh balls. So I'm just going to take a small amount of the mixture and fry it off, just a little mini patty. Quick taste, it's got lovely and crispy. That is so good. And the seasoning is spot on, so we can roll them out now. So I'm just going to roll these out onto a plate, and I'm just going to sort of pack them together to make sure they don't fall apart at all when cooking. And you can make them as big or as small as you like. So they look perfect, and we've got one little mini one here. And this is what I call the chef's treat, as I'll be grabbing it out of the air fryer for a little snack. I'm going to give these a light spray with some olive oil. Just give them a little roll around. This will help them get crispy, not stick to the air fryer, and also keep them really nice and moist. You could of course bake or fry these. It's totally up to you. Full instructions will be in the description box. So just spread them out so they can get lovely and crisp, and we'll pop them into the air fryer. And then once they are beautifully golden brown, get back here. You can add them into your favorite tomato sauce, or maybe a lentil bolognese. It's totally up to you. Maybe finish them off with a little sprinkle of nutritional yeast if you like, for a nice bit of cheesy goodness. And there you go, for a simple weeknight dinner, you really can't go wrong. Delicious. That's a really quick and easy way of using tempeh, really nutritious, and the tempeh adds a really nice chew to these meatball alternatives. This is my lunch. I'm going to tuck into this, and then we'll move on to the next recipe. I used to be a massive meat eater, whether that was steaks, burgers, chicken, all that sort of thing. Even on my birthday once, I asked just to have a big steak. That's how much of a carnivore I was. But since going plant-based for about a year, maybe longer, I love finding new ways to cook plant-based ingredients, especially the really nutritious ones like tempeh and tofu, and making them absolutely delicious And these 3 recipes are no exception. They've helped me enjoy these nutritious ingredients without missing out on the delicious flavors and textures that I would have been getting from meat. We'll start by making a really quick batter, just with a mix of plain flour first. I'm going to put most of the seasoning in the breadcrumbs and of course the glaze, but I will just add some salt and pepper to the batter. Then just simply whisk in a plant-based milk of your choice. I'm going to be using oat milk, and just whisk that in. Okay, that's looking good. You want it thick enough to sort of coat the back of a spoon. That's perfect. Then we'll get our breadcrumb mix ready. I'm using panko breadcrumbs, which is a Japanese type of breadcrumb that is super crispy. And we'll just add a few seasonings. I'm going for some granulated garlic and some granulated onion, dried thyme, and some smoked paprika. I'll just give that a good mix. Also going to add a pinch of salt. Not going too crazy on these seasonings, as we are going to make a quick harissa glaze to coat these nuggets. We'll now tear our tempeh into nice little bite-sized chunks. I much prefer tearing it up rather than cubing it, as you get these really nice jagged edges to catch the glaze and get really crispy when fried. You can do it one by one into the batter and then into the breadcrumb, but I find it easier just to do them all at the same time, at least for this first stage. Get yourself a spoon and then just carefully coat the tempeh in the batter, being careful not to break it up too much. That's looking perfect. Then simply move your tempeh from the batter into your breadcrumbs and get them really well coated. And you can sort of push the breadcrumbs in a little bit, that helps. You get a really nice coating. And that's what you're looking for, just nice and coated in those breadcrumbs. You can also add in a few pieces at a time. So let's just throw in 5 pieces. You're just going to give them a little toss and that will coat them nicely. You just risk the breadcrumbs sort of clumping together a little bit. It does work fairly well. I usually like to then just check to make sure they're nice and coated afterwards. And just like with the tempeh balls, I'm going to give them a little spray with olive oil and then turn them over, and then another quick spray, and then we'll air fry them until crispy. We're going to make a really simple sauce / glaze, starting with some harissa. Lovely and smoky. Then some maple syrup. Give that a quick whisk. You can heat this up, but since the nuggets are hot, I'm not going to worry. First things first, let's check the crisp factor. Sounds good to me. Oh, we lost one. Give them a toss. So good. If you want a high protein snack, then this is the way to go. They're crispy, slightly sticky, and they've got a lovely smoky and sweet flavor. A little bit naughty with the breadcrumbs and the maple syrup, but totally worth it. If you're interested in recipe PDFs, bonus content, and just supporting the channel, be sure to check out my Patreon page. You can scan the QR code or there'll be a link in the description box. So to start this tempeh fried rice, a bit like egg fried rice, but we're going to use tempeh instead of the egg. We're just going to crumble up this tempeh into sort of pea-sized pieces. I think in general with tempeh, getting it crispy is the way to go, because it does have quite a strange, sort of almost rubbery texture. You want to get your pan really nice and hot before you add in any oil or your tempeh, and then add in your tempeh. Spread that out evenly, get it coated in the oil. It will take a good 8 to 10 minutes to get your tempeh lovely and golden brown like it is here. Definitely worth spending those extra minutes getting it lovely and crispy. I'm going to temporarily remove the tempeh so we can cook our veggies. I'm going to add a touch more oil. You can use any veggies that you like. I'm going to be using some mushrooms and some celery and carrot. You can use any veggies that you like, whether that's broccoli, courgette, pepper, spring onions. And we'll just cook them for a few minutes to let them soften. The veggies have softened nicely now, so I'm going to add in some ginger and garlic. I absolutely love ginger, so I've got a fair amount going in. And we'll fry this off for about 90 seconds, stirring fairly regularly. Next to go in is our rice. If you can use rice that is a day old or even 2 days old, that would be great. It'll be drier and it won't become mushy quite as easy as freshly cooked rice. So just mix that through and we'll sort of toast it off in the pan just for a couple minutes. I'm using brown rice here, but you can certainly do this with white rice as well. So I'm going to add in half of the tempeh back, or maybe like 2/3, I reckon. I'm also going to add a handful of fresh coriander. And then we'll add in the sauce, which is just soy sauce, rice vinegar, and sesame oil. Nearly forgot there. And just mix that through. You can turn off the heat now. If you wanted to, you could add some other sauces in, like a hoisin sauce, or maybe like some chili sauce, totally up to you. Just a really simple weeknight dinner, really. And that's it. Then I'll just add on the rest of the tempeh, which is going to stay slightly crispier, as we're not going to stir it through. You could add some sesame seeds on top if you wanted. And that is your tempeh fried rice. Really, really tasty. The tempeh is lovely and chewy and nutty, and then you've got the crispy tempeh on top as well. And then soy sauce, sesame oil, and rice wine vinegar is just a match made in heaven for any sort of rice dish. Really tasty. Give this a go. A really nice, quick midweek dinner.